welcome back to another episode of the Jake Williams Show. I should mention that, shouldn't I? This is technically the first episode, but I'm just going to leave it as episode 21 of Loud and Opinionated. There is a new name for this show, a whole new format and everything. I'm just kidding. There's not a huge change to what's going to be going on with all of what's happening on this RSS feed. So if you have been paying attention, you already noticed, okay, first of all, there's a new logo, says The Jake Williams Show. There's a new title that says The Jake Williams Show on it, and it just looks different. It looks weird. Well, there's a reason for that, and I'm going to jump into it all right now. Loud and Opinionated, our whole mantra for 2019 has been expand the brand. That's what I've been posting on social media. It's been on Twitter, it's been on Facebook, it's been on Instagram. We've been really pushing that narrative, pushing that hashtag of expand the brand, and we're doing it. One show is already out, the Loud and Opinionated Football Podcast. That's already up and running, and we also have another show, The Underachievers. We've already announced that. That's already up there, and that'll be coming out next week. So, to me, it's only right. Derek and I had this conversation. We were working on, well, he was working on. I was just giving him feedback and some ideas of what we should do with it. But he, sent me what looked like the beta and what the design was going to be for the updated website. And we kind of just evolved and changed a lot of things in Loud and Opinionated itself. We got a new logo, which if you're watching, we've already made those changes on Twitter and Facebook and the website. We have a new logo and a whole new design. And so when I was talking to him about how we were going to approach this and have, expand into more of a expand more into a podcast network and have multiple shows, then he kind of approached me and said, well, maybe the name needs to be changed for Loud and Opinionated. And I don't know why I hadn't done that before. And I talked to him and I said, well, let's just call it the Jake Williams Show. So that's the reason for the name change. Ever since Derek stepped down hosting this show back in November, it has been the Jake Williams Show. I just never named it that. And I think that was just to hold on to the idea of Loud and Opinionated and still have Derek, his legacy of this idea, this brand, still be attached to it. But, the more I look at it, I think the more his legacy is going to live on through what we see with the website and what's happening with he designed the logo for the Underachievers. He designed the brand new website, which is still rolling out. We've got pieces of it. It's not fully, the redesign isn't fully, out yet, but it's looking really cool. And and it just makes sense with all the things happening. And I'm actually okay with it. I hope you guys come on with this journey. It's the same show. It's just a different name. And there is one more change that's coming to this show. It's not going to be twice a week anymore. I just think that the change had to come because we're expanding. We're getting bigger. And I'm going to be not only hosting, but I'm going to be hosting and editing 2 other shows. And I'm just going to need that time to edit. So this will only be once a week. This will be coming out on Fridays. But I think the really cool thing is you're going to have a ton of content in between that time. The website, we're going to have articles and posts up there. We're still grinding out articles. And with the Underachievers, not only we're going to have video reviews, there's going to be written reviews up on loudandopinionated.com. So Derek's working on writing a bunch. He's been about, his whole thing is he's going to be writing more. I'm going to still be writing articles. So there's going to be content. Is there going to be, whether it be podcasts, whether it be articles, and Jake's Rad Movie Show is officially going to launch in February. I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. So that's coming. So there's going to be a lot of content. So there's no need for me to post twice a week because of all the other cool stuff that's going to be happening. And there's probably going to be a little bit of overlap between this show and the Underachievers and the Loud and Opinionated Football Podcast, which is fine. It won't be me talking as much. It's going to be the other hosts, and I'm going to get more of their opinion on the topic, and then maybe they could change how I feel, and I'm going to chime in different ways. So, yes, 2019, expand the brand, new show, new format. I'm done talking about it. We got to move on. And this is something I didn't do late into 2018. There's a certain part of doing this show where I said I'm not talking about politics anymore. The most recent time I may have talked about politics was when I talked about Google and Gavin McInnes and Alex Jones. I think that was the closest I ever was to talking about politics after Derek left. Him and I talked about the midterms and all that stuff, but I don't know, there was just a part where I didn't want to do it anymore, and it was getting to a part where both sides, I was just like, I just don't want to deal with this. This is toxic. But I never rule it out, and I never rule anything out, a topic out, because who knows, maybe I will want to come back to it. And if you've already seen the title, you know I'm coming back to it this week. And I was also kind of in a space where I was a little bit worried about the people who would stop listening to this show and stop caring about this show. And quite honestly, I just don't care anymore because this podcast network is loud and opinionated. And I'm going to tell you what I think. And if you don't agree with it, that's totally fine. If you don't want to listen to it anymore, that's totally fine. You can listen to the other Achievers. You can listen to the Loud and Opinionated Football Podcast. I don't care. I've come to a point where I'm just going to give my opinions. And you're going to be surprised at how much I do play in the middle. I really do. I mean, I've joked about it that I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm very much a moderate Democrat. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to do something different too with the RSS feed. I joked about how I'm done talking about it. I'm not. With the RSS feed, we're starting to do this on Loud and Opinionated Football Podcast, and I'm starting to do it here. I'm going to segment out each segment on the RSS feed, so you can choose what you want to listen to, because I'm going to go hard on President Trump. So if you're a Trump supporter and you love Trump, you're not going to want to listen to this show. You should skip that segment, because I'm going to go after him hard later. But first, I want to talk about something that happened last week. This last week, not last week, but it happened, I think, Tuesday. Who knew that this would happen from a razor company? But Gillette released their toxic masculinity ad, which is a 2-minute ad, and everybody has to have seen it by now, right? And if you haven't, I'll put a link down below in the description so you can go search it out yourselves. But yeah, so I watched it and I thought it was a pretty cool ad. I really liked it. And of course, because it has to deal with masculinity in men and gender stuff, and we're 2019, we're getting 2018's leftovers of just stupid things to be mad about. We're starting 2019 strong with this. And, the whole tagline, "The best a man can get," takes on a whole new meaning in the Gillette ad. And the whole idea of the ad is you're seeing kids fighting and someone breaking it up, and you're seeing a man see a woman walk by and he gives her a certain look, like, hey, she's hot, she's sexy kind of look. And then you see, it's just different examples of, stuff that's happened in the Me Too era. And honestly, I don't understand. I have two lines of thought about this. One, I think it was a bold strategy by Gillette, because we all know what happens in we live in a world where, and it sucks, but it's true, we live in a world where almost every single thing is politicized. And I got to give them credit, because this is a world where it's risky to get woke, as the people say. And it's risky as a big brand to take a political stance. And so I think this is, I got to applaud them for it. But I also understand the idea behind it. Because everything is politicized and because everybody has to be angry about something, they're getting more and more brand recognition than they could ever have hoped for in 2019. Because now everybody's talking about them. And when you have legitimate competition from, Schick or Dollar Shave Club or these outside sources, how do you get more people to draw to your product? Oh, you get people to get angry about it. You want proof of that? It works. It worked for Nike. Nike has the Kaepernick ad. Everybody that's against the kneeling and everything, everybody's mad about that. They burn their shoes, which is idiotic, or they throw their razor in a toilet in this case, which, again, you're an idiot. You already bought the product. I don't see what you're trying to prove there. But by doing that and getting people upset, it's just going to help them. I think it's going to help. It helped Nike. It's going to help Gillette, because people are going to constantly talk about it. And with the politicization, if I could say that word, the politicization, forget it. With everybody picking a side and being so divisive now, you're going to have, and I'll talk more about this in a second, but you're going to have right-wingers that hate it because they think it's, pussification of America, and you can't be a man, you can't be masculine. That's the take. And then you're going to have the guys on the left, and they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is the way that we should be. And you're also going to have the male feminists who are like, yeah, men suck. You're going to have the super hardcore extreme feminists that's, are like, yeah, this is right. We've been saying this for years. Men are terrible, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have all these aspects. So when you have the right-wingers saying that, hey, this is against masculinity, we hate this, people on the left are going to buy the product. You see what I'm getting at? And as far as feminists go, you shave your legs, don't you? So I guess you could use it for that or other parts. Gross. I'm kidding. Who cares? It's pubes. Everybody has them. And like I said, it's genius. It works. It's going to get people in there. And I do think it's silly that in 2019, all this talk of Me Too and toxic masculinity, we get the most rise out of people when it's done by a shaving company, when it's done by a razor company. A company's sole purpose is to shave my beard, and they get upset about it. That is a political stance. And you know what? It doesn't affect me. I don't use Gillette. I don't think. I never know. Ashley buys me razors because, I'm a beta male. But I never, as you can tell by my face, the people watching this on YouTube, you've seen me. I have a beard. I have a bearded face. So I don't use Gillette anyway. So it doesn't affect me that way. I will say, though, it's almost as funny as when the Pepsi commercial with, is it Kendall Jenner? Yeah, it was Kendall Jenner, I think. It could be one of the Jenner girls. When she saved the whole world with a Pepsi. It's the same mentality here. I like it. Also, the people that are angry against it, getting woke, why? Why are you so upset about Gillette's political ad? What purpose does it matter to you that they decide to make a stance and decide to have this political ad? You probably weren't going to buy them anyway because Gillette, they're pretty expensive razors. So does it really affect you that much? Is it really that big of a deal in your everyday life? I mean, let's just jump into the part about the right-wingers. I mean, let's look at, it was almost, I could have synchronized a watch to when every right-wing radio host, any conservative radio host or talk show host was going to freak out about this. You could almost all, get it lined up because they all do. This anytime they think there's anything, for some reason, you got guys like Hannity, which actually I take that back. Rush Limbaugh is probably the big one. I don't know about Hannity. But you got guys that have an audience that are conservative that take this stance that are, for some reason, sort of anti-Me Too. Maybe Bill O'Reilly will comment on this. Some sort of anti-Me Too, anti-this, whatever it is, and they think it's a pussification of America. And they think that they're saying you can't be manly. I heard that, you guys got Rush Limbaugh doing what I'm doing, dedicating a whole segment about how this is bad. And he said this is the epitome of him, as he starts off with saying this is what the problem is when we're getting to a part where millennials are getting corporate jobs and they're starting to run companies. Really? Millennials are the problem. Could it be that people from your generation, Rush, get a little grabby, squeezy when they shouldn't be in positions where they have power and have to force, and because they have power, women can't come out until 2018, and now into 2019, they can't say something about it. But millennials are the bad generation, and we're the bad people because we decide to use a platform, in this case, which is hilarious, a razor ad, to say, hey, let's all agree to stop being jerks. Let's all agree to stop harassing women. Let's all think about this and not resort to violence and aggression right away with confrontation. I know it's hard to do because we have to apologize. And then there's this whole narrative that you have to apologize for being a man. No, you have to apologize for being an asshole. That's where you have to apologize. You shouldn't beat people up. You shouldn't catcall women. You shouldn't sexually harass women. That's the whole point of the ad. The whole point of the ad is, as men, we should hold ourselves to higher standards. I don't think Gillette says that every man does this. I don't think Gillette says that every man that has any interaction with a female tries to sexually harass her or treat her like shit. No, I'm not saying that, and I don't think Gillette is. When you make a point like this, when you make a stance like this to say, hey, let's all be better, you have to go to the extreme. And I'm sorry, it's not millennials' fault that your generation harasses women and rapes them. Millennials rape women too. That's not what I'm saying. So to come on your show and spew this bullcrap rhetoric that it's anti-man and it plays into the hand of feminazis and it's all for beta males is idiotic. Because that is not the point. When when people criticize this ad and say, "Oh, well, he was looking at a woman in a certain way." Well, I got news for you. Men are attracted to women. You're missing the point. The point is that he's attracted and he's probably going to do something really dumb. And something he shouldn't. And be a sleazeball. And the fact that these same kind of people want to get out and criticize safe spaces and trigger warnings, which I do too. I think they're stupid. To go out and they call people snowflakes. That's my favorite thing is they go out and call them liberals, like they call them snowflakes and everything. You got triggered and upset by a 2-minute ad about a razor. Just let that sink into your core and let people remind you that, oh yeah, I got upset because Gillette said men should be better. I got upset because Gillette said that we should talk to women differently and treat women differently and not get into confrontation. It's not saying stop being a man. It's not saying you should apologize for being a man. You made that narrative because you wanted that narrative to happen. You wrote that story because you all are on this whole idea that America sucks because men can't be men anymore. Shut up. Do you ever think that maybe what happens with human beings and civilization as a whole, we adapt, we evolve, and we change, and the idea of these things that you thought was okay aren't okay? We're a changing society. We always are changing. We're always adapting. And I'm not saying you shouldn't barbecue as a man. I'm not saying you shouldn't compliment a woman. And there's a difference between complimenting a woman and being a sleazeball. I know it's hard to believe, but there is a difference. For some people, they don't understand that. You can do those things. I'm not saying that. And to think that this ad is too preachy, it's really not. It's really not. It's just saying, hey, in 2019, can we all just agree, stop being dicks to each other? And I know that's hard to do, but it's pretty easy. I say that as I yell and call that guy an idiot, but what do I know? What do I know? I'm a beta male. I'm probably one of those male feminist beta males who's never cooked a steak or never got into a fight. Whatever. All right, so let's go on from one silly topic to another silly topic. Let's talk about the border crisis that our president has so graciously shut our government down in a record-setting fashion. I think we're on day 20. We'll be on day 28, maybe, once this posts on Friday. Yeah, so Trump and his cronies, and you know who his cronies are. I'm not going to explain it. You should know by now who his cronies are. Trump has come out on last Tuesday, January the 8th, he had an address to the nation from the Oval Office explaining how this is a crisis, and this could also he thinks that he could call this a national emergency, and it is a big deal and a big crisis with the border, the southern border. I would like to point out here, it's a great use of this because he gets his cronies who go on TV and decide to shuffle in people. And these are people that had lost their children. These are parents of children that they lost to illegal immigrants. And I understand these people had to sign on to this. And a parent losing their kid is a tragedy, and it's horrible. But the fact that you have them shuffled in a semicircle like it is a group therapy session on TV, on cable news, have them shuffled out there and exploit them to push a narrative of a crisis is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. And I get it. These parents have to sign off on this. And you know what's sad is these parents are exploited. They are, because they are in a grieving process. They have to deal with the fact that they lost a child, and they're shuffled onto this stage and with a bunch of other parents in this situation, and they're being exploited so you can justify our president making up a lie that is a crisis on the border. If this was such a crisis, explain to me why people crossing the border and getting into our country, it's down. It's gone on a downturn since the Bush administration. And then this whole idea that, walls work because people have walls around their homes. And Obama called it a crisis. Obama may have called it a crisis, but he didn't shut down the government for a lie. And when he did shut down the government for 17 days, which everybody wants to point out, it was for health care.
Yeah, bitch, for health care. So your grandma could check her blood pressure, and you bitches could go check your pussy in the gynecologist with no motherfucking problem.
Despite your opinions on Obamacare, health care is a legitimate thing we need to be talking about and worried about, not a fake border crisis. I'm not someone that doesn't believe that we should have a strong border and we should do better, be better about how we get people across. A better path to citizenship is what I believe in. I don't understand this idea that we make up some sort of narrative that there's a border crisis. And that we have 90% of heroin is from across the border that gets in through ports of entry. It's almost like, oh no, you could tunnel under a wall or you could fly over a wall. A wall is going to stop drugs from getting into this country. People need their fix, because look who our president is. They're going to need their fix. Find a way to get it. This is absolutely 100% manufactured. Let me ask you this. Why didn't Trump get this put through when he had Republicans in the House and the Senate for 2 years? Why couldn't he get a wall then? Explain that to me. Explain how that doesn't happen. Explain to me how they couldn't repeal and replace Obamacare when they had, at the time, 6 years to plan to do that? So this isn't on the Democrats. This whole government shutdown is not on Democrats. It's on our president, because if you remember, he said that he would take the blame for it.
I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
and
I am proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work.
And then he lied and puts it on the Democrats.
The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security.
It's almost like all this guy does is lie. It's almost like this guy just makes stories up. This is 100% manufactured. Do people get killed by illegal immigrants? Sure, but you know what? the number is higher amongst American citizens. I'm so sick of this idea that we have to exploit parents that are grieving and have dead children, shovel them out on TV, push them up on TV and say, look, their kid died from illegal immigrants. It's got to be a crisis. Despite the fact that it could have been any citizen. No, we have to push a narrative that just isn't true, and we have to shut a government down and force people to not make money for almost a month now because the child that we call our president doesn't have his wall. It blows my mind that people can honestly believe what comes out of this guy's mouth. 2 years of having the House and the Senate, and they couldn't get a wall passed. And now this is the hill they want to die on? I can get behind a government shutdown over healthcare. I can't get behind a government shutdown about some bogus border security. I want a legitimate source to protect these people. And I don't want to protect us and to protect the good people that are trying to get in here because, I don't know, they're starving and they're trying to actually get asylum and they need help and they want to believe in this idea. I want those people protected. I want us protected. And to think that we have to shut our government down to build a dumb wall that I thought Mexico was going to pay for. No, it was a joke. Nobody ever believed that. Yeah, really? I think a lot of people did. This is a great example of what is wrong with politics. This is a prime example of what is so wrong with our two-party system. Because Republicans want to go out and immediately sign up, and not all. There's still some never-Trumpers. But you have Republicans that are solely blaming this whole situation on Democrats. And you got Democrats blaming this all on the president. This is a prime example. Why should the government be shut down? Legitimately asking. Who thought that this was a good idea? And then you got him saying months, maybe years. Years. So you're not going to pay anybody for years? People aren't going to be able to keep their house. People aren't going to be able to eat. But it's okay. We need a border wall. And the whole irony of this situation, because of the partial government shutdown, you have the cases that see asylum, the immigration courts, they're not in session. So the people are still here because the government's still partially shut down. So those immigrants that you gotta get out of here, they're still here. Let's stop pretending that this is legitimately about border security. This is just about Trump trying to win a war with everybody else to get his base happy again. That's all it is. This guy doesn't care about border security. Are you insane? He just wants to keep getting his base riled up. I don't understand. I don't understand how anybody could defend this act and any of this. And the worst part is the Democrats don't even have a legitimate. They don't. You got Chuck and Nancy rolling out there looking like they're a couple of zombies to do their rebuttal. Which I don't even know if they actually watched the Oval Office address. It seemed like it was pre-recorded just to say do what he does and get bam, 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 knock out some bullet point talking points. Now you've got Nancy Pelosi saying, hey, don't do the State of the Union address because we don't have security because the government's shut down. And she plans a trip to Afghanistan, and the president's like, well, if you want to take away my State of the Union, I'll take away your trip to Afghanistan. They can't be here to do work on the border wall because they're off in Puerto Rico. Just constant finger pointing and blaming over something we don't need. That's what I want to stress the most about this. We don't need a wall. There is no crisis. It's all a lie because our president lies. That's all he's good for. He can't even get food served right. He has to go get fast food for Clemson. Congratulations. Doing everybody a favor, beating up on Alabama. Here's a double quarter pounder. And then people trying to justify that. It's like, come on. That is the definition of a cheap president. It's $3,000 of his own money, but he is the definition of a cheap president. I can't get these guys food because I'm the reason why the government shut down. But I'll buy him some McDonald's for $3,000. Whew. Makes me sick. It really does. It just, the more I talk about him and the more I talk about this government shutdown, the angrier I get. And maybe that's why I shouldn't be doing politics. Because the hypocrisy, because of the lies, the stupidity from everybody involved. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Thank you so much to listening to episode 21 of Loud and Opinionated, a.k.a. episode 21 of The Jake Williams Show. You can follow Loud and Opinionated on Twitter at Loud Opinionated. You can like us on Facebook, Loud and Opinionated. Trumpers, if you Trump supporters, if you're mad at me for this episode, I told you at the top, I really don't care. Follow on Instagram at Loud and Opinionated Brand. Change that name, Loud and Opinionated Brand on Instagram. Check out the website, loudandopinionated.com. Looking awesome. And keep coming back to that because pretty soon you're going to see more shows. We already have Loud and Opinionated Football Podcast. That's already out. And depending on how things go, new episode will be up probably the day after this one, so probably on Saturday. And then next week, The Underachievers, the gaming podcast, will be up there as well. And whether people like it or not, man, do what you got to do. And if you want to submit and be a part of this family and have your article up on the website, you can have any opinion on what you want. You could even be a Trump supporter and have your article up on the website. I don't care. I'm not about silencing opinions. Neither is Derek. That's the beauty of Loud and Opinionated. If you want to do that, be loud at loudandopinionated.com. You can write for us. We'll put it up on the site, and you'll be loved by us because you're a guest contributor. All right, that's about it for this week. I'll see you next Friday. Be loud. Be proud.